In the mist-choked hills of a forgotten village, there was a man no one truly saw. Wei Zhang had lived there all his life, a quiet, withered figure drifting through the streets like a shadow. He wasn't a troublemaker, nor was he particularly kind. He was just there. People greeted him out of habit, not warmth. They barely noticed when he stopped answering back. But they noticed the night the dead began to disappear. It started with Li Ming. He was young, strong, a farmer like his father before him. Life was simple. Wake before dawn, work the fields, return home. But for weeks he hadn't slept. The nightmares came every night, always the same. His grandmother, pale and hollow-eyed, whispering from the darkness, "Save me." Her voice was thin, stretched like it had traveled across lifetimes to reach him. Her bony fingers clawed at the air. The smell of damp earth clung to her. Li would wake up gasping, the words echoing in his mind. "Save me." First, he dismissed it. Just a dream, just grief. But then, one night, the dream changed. His grandmother wasn't whispering anymore. She was screaming. That was the night Li took his lantern and went to her grave. The village cemetery was old, crumbling under time's heavy hand. The lantern's glow barely cut through the thick mist. He counted the graves, his breath clouding in the air. And then he saw it. The dirt was disturbed. The headstone tilted, cracked. His grandmother's grave had been opened. His hands trembled as he knelt down. The wooden coffin had been pried apart. Scratches lined the edges, as if something had clawed its way out. But no, that was impossible. She had been buried properly. Her body should have been there. Instead, the coffin was empty. A cold dread settled in his bones. Someone had taken her. The next morning, the village erupted in fear. Li wasn't the only one. 5 more graves had been disturbed, the bodies missing. People whispered about spirits, curses, the dead returning to take revenge. But the village chief, a practical man, shook his head. "No spirit digs up bodies," he muttered. "This is the work of human hands." And so the search began. At first, they looked outside the village. Strangers, thieves, grave robbers. But then an officer noticed something. An odd scent lingering near an old cottage at the village's edge. Wei Zhang's home. The stench hit them before they even stepped inside. A thick, rotting smell that curled in the throat and refused to leave. The front door creaked open. The house was a tomb of forgotten years. Dust thick on the floor, stacks of old newspapers crumbling in the corners. And then there were the photographs. Dozens of them. Yellowed, curling images of smiling elderly women, pinned haphazardly across the walls. Women the village had buried weeks ago. An officer's voice trembled. "Where are they?" A sound echoed from the back room. A soft clinking. The scrape of a chair. Someone wasn't alone. They followed the noise, pushing open the door. And there, sitting at an old wooden table, they found them. The missing bodies, dressed in their finest silks. Their withered hands carefully folded over plates of mold-streaked food. Their heads tilted as if waiting for conversation. And standing among them, ladling spoonfuls of congee into a dead woman's mouth, was Wei Zhang. "She likes it sweet," he murmured, his voice soft, almost scolding. "Too much salt makes her cough." For a long, horrible moment, no one moved. Then, an officer stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Wei, put the spoon down." Wei's hands trembled. His eyes, dull and sunken, flickered with something raw. "They were alone," he whispered. "No one cared for them. I cared for them." "Wei, don't touch them." His scream shattered the silence. He lunged forward, his frail body moving with desperate fury. They struggled, knocking over plates, bowls, bones, until finally, the officers overpowered him. He collapsed, shaking, weeping. "They were my family," he choked. Outside, the villagers had gathered. When they saw Wei, saw the horror inside, they erupted. "Monster!" they shouted. "Abomination!" But as Li stood in the wreckage of Wei's life, his eyes fell on the photographs again. He saw what the others didn't. These women, they had been kind to him once. a bowl of warm stew when he was young, a scarf knitted for him on a cold winter night, a soft smile when the world ignored him. Wei had never forgotten, and when they passed, he brought them home, not out of malice, but because he had nothing else. They did not send Wei Zhang to prison. They sent him to a white room, in a place where the walls were padded, where voices murmured behind glass, a place where, even now, he sets the table for the dead. Each night, he carefully lays out bowls and cups, arranging the silverware just so. He hums to himself, smiling. In his mind, his family still dines with him, laughing, alive. But the village remembers, not just the horror of what he did, but why. They whisper of the true terror, not the theft of bodies, but the theft of dignity. Because Wei Zhang did not become a monster overnight. His madness was born in the silence between hello and goodbye. In the years no one saw him, no one heard him, no one cared to try, and so, the lesson burned itself into the village's bones. See the unseen, because the dead fear nothing, but the living, we fear becoming shadows, to be forgotten, to scream into a void that swallows your voice. That is the real haunting, and sometimes the ghosts aren't the ones in the ground. Click on the subscribe, like, and share button for more videos. Thanks for watching.